Hello, this is Don Shanahan of EveryMovieHasALesson.com and the Chicago Independent Film Critics Circle. This is the Movie Classroom, an audio and interactive whiteboard video version of one of my film reviews here on YouTube. This week's review, or this edition's review, is going to be for A Ghost Story. This is a 3-star out of 5-star film for me, and I'd love to tell you why. Here's my review. David Lowery's A Ghost Story opens with a citation from Virginia Woolf's short story, A Haunted House, a rather telling and appropriate allusion. Like Woolf's descriptive modernist classic, parabolizing a longing, ghostly couple within the pulse and heart of the house they share, Lowery's chamber piece summons and subverts the precepts of a traditional spectral fable to striking results. The leap to select such a cup of tea that A Ghost Story represents already begs for this first life lesson. Lesson number 1. The afterlife is a touchy subject. Metaphorically or not, when someone starts talking about or presenting a vision of the hereafter, a place with zero factual standing and 100% personal conjecture, they are opening the door to wildly different interpretations, reactions, and levels of acceptance. What is stirring and inspiring for one psyche could be objectionable or unsightly to another. Welcome to the polarizing gamut of engagement, acceptance, and disquiet of A Ghost Story. This is a wholly original film that takes preparation, patience, absorption, and reflection that some, or even maybe even many, may not be entirely ready for. Presented in the rounded and claustrophobic corners of a centered 1.33 to 1 aspect ratio, it is safe to say you will see nothing like this all year and maybe several more years after that. A Ghost Story follows an unnamed husband and wife played by Lowery's Ain't Them Body Saints returning collaborators Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. He is a struggling artist and she is the responsible wife, living in an older single ranch level home in the fog and brushy forest of semi-rural Texas. The film was filmed in Irving, Texas. Small morsels of their relationship are fleshed out before the husband unexpectedly dies, shifting the entire narrative to a bleak and dire place. After his passing, the husband takes the form of a ghost, but not the glowing Patrick Swayze type. As beautiful as it is deliberately crude and rudimentary, he is cloaked and draped in the billowing creases and folds of a white sheet, complete with the unemotive black cutout eyes. All of this created skillfully from the craftsmanship of costume designer Enel Brodeur. The walking apparition finds his way from the hospital gurney back to his house. He is on an invisible path and drawn to an unspoken need, searching or waiting for a representation of closure or acceptance while watching his wife carry on without him. This voyeuristic wait becomes a pensive and introspective journey that spans years. There is no arguing the spiritual ambition of David Lowery's secretly shot passion project. This is the first in a plethora of characteristics respect about A Ghost Story. Even through its boxy frame, the cinematography of sophomore feature DP Andrew Draws Palermo immerses itself in pastoral natural light and scenery. It's a gorgeous film. The people who are trying to compare this film to Terrence Malick and Emmanuel Lubezki are, honestly, to me, getting it all wrong. Lowery's long takes and dialogue-less stretches blow away Malick's penchant for hopscotching every 4 seconds between actors and Lubezki's random natural imagery. A Ghost Story has a calmer presence that ominously lingers in the power of silence better than any recent Malick film. As suggested by my cup of tea expression in the first lesson, the challenge of A Ghost Story is not without towering obstacles. Atmosphere wins over acting, even with Rooney Mara's balancing act between blank and stoic. High poetry like this requires patience and an open mind for 92, sometimes grueling minutes. The patience necessary here can be tedious as much as it is enriching, which may, in fact, be the point. Multiple viewings soften the sting. Still, much of A Ghost Story could become a complete and even maddening head-scratcher, leaving you grasping for connection and a greater point. One, and maybe the only true clear emotional anchor in this minimalist film is musician Daniel Hart's ethereal score, mixing minor electronica with hints of an organ. Lowery requisitioned Hart's song I Get Overwhelmed, performed by his band Dark Rooms, after being unable to shake its tone of desperation while writing the film. The song becomes a welcome, thematic, and hypnotizing nucleus within the film, and the song is already killing it in its trailers. You want more of it and the romanticism it brings, even so much to the point where you realize you might have needed more juice than a preaching of restraint and temporal rumination on eternity and finality when it's all said and done. This truly is a difficult and tricky film. I already gave you one life lesson. Here are several others that kind of connect to where this film is going. Lesson number 2 is don't eat your feelings. And I hate to say it, but you'll see, and pass the fork. Lesson number 3 is ghosts as observers. In writing this review, I had a lot of different things where I said ghosts are, or ghosts were, or ghosts can be. And I kind of boiled them down to 2 after putting several ideas together. And the first one is ghosts as observers. Call them what you will. If you want to call ghosts watchers, voyeurs, witnesses, or even meddlers, ghosts carry a watchful presence of unseen participation. We as the audience to people of grief in a ghost story are complicit to their window and point of view of this evolving world. It's a fascinating way to kind of watch and view a film, and like I said, pensive and introspective kind of comes into play. It's tricky in the way you're doing it, especially when you're watching it from a literal sheet with 2 eyes on it. Lesson number 4 dives a little deeper than observers in saying ghosts are remnants. Catholics call their place of lost souls purgatory. Whatever the name or comparison, ghosts can be vessels and vehicles for loneliness, loss, and attachment to people and places. They represent the wake, or kind of aftermath, a person leaves when they pass on. In this film's bare mythology, they have fading memories and unfinished business before moving on to whatever existential plane follows the place they are at now. This is truly a challenging film. I can see this as the kind of film where people can walk out of it, or people can stand up and cheer it, much like can be said about many of the reviews you might read for it. If you need another take and another reaction to this, please look up my buddies over at Feeling Film, feelingfilm.com, FEELINFILM.com. I did a kind of instant reaction piece to this film. With many of my points made this review, and I think it's a good listen if you need another podcast. One way or another, thank you very much for listening to this review and this movie classroom. I'll see you next time. Thank you.